A great part of my reading I have done to understand a comparison between the conflicts in the physical world and the cyber world. Many a times we have seen that whatever happened on the physical world from the medieval times, the cyber attacks or incident had a lot of similarity. Initially we thought, because in the medieval times, when there was no law enforcement available, a valuable asset is easy to exploit, attacks always happened. The cyber world was also that way. But now the trend is completely changing from that. And the biggest problem is that in the physical world, we have seen people learning from every incident, adapting to the change, and avoiding or becoming more resilient to survive. But the data in the cyber world is not actually reflecting that way. Now the latest statistics I saw from this company is that every 39 seconds, one attack is happening. That is a staggering big number. And who is this target? Earlier we said a high valuable asset or highly vulnerable asset, somebody want to attack them. But now what we are seeing is that anybody, any industry, you get attacked. But only the type of attacks are changing. An example, I was having a meeting with a minister in South Africa, and their biggest problem was ransomware attack happening in a very big manner. So I was working for a company where we had a lot of data, global comparison, regional comparisons, industry sector comparisons. And then what we showed them was the mining companies there, high availability of their service was their priority, due to which the moment attack happens, they pay the money. When you start paying the money, more and more attackers are coming and attacking. So unless until these diamond or gold mining companies stop paying the ransom, the ransomware attacks in South Africa is not going to go off. And so the type of attacks may change, but every industry, every region, every individual, all are potential target for an attack. And the study also says 60% of the small to medium companies do not survive their business more than 6 months after an attack. That is where the discussion of survivability comes into picture. We can no longer say that I need a high availability in my network. I need to make sure my systems are up and running. I need to make sure that I am operational with my customers. If you look at this number, more than the number, what we need to look at saying, the years of that, over these years, nothing much has changed. So if you look at 5 years back, in 2016, 271 days was the average time to identify a data breach. Now 2022, we have a 277. Nothing much has changed. Technology has advanced heavily. People became more aware. And the cost of a data breach is growing up considerably. Trillions of dollars are getting paid on the security controls. Salary of security professionals are going extraordinarily high. Shortage of staff is there. We are doing everything possible, but the number says nothing is changing the impact we are facing. If you look at the vulnerabilities, over the years, the number of vulnerabilities we identify is also exponentially increasing. There could be one reason that more digital services are coming into picture, more applications are getting accessed or services are coming into picture, due to which the vulnerabilities are high. But what we need to understand from this number is, or this graph is, things are exponentially growing. While we have conferences, we have a lot of books, lot of professionals, lot of advisors, but nothing is changing. And this is of our popular softwares. Based on that orange or red are the high critical vulnerabilities. And the problem with that is that those are easily exploitable. Every organization is struggling to get a patch downtime. If the softwares are better, we don't have to patch it, we don't have to worry about it. Now we don't get a downtime, we have limited resources, we don't patch it because software is built bad. And due to which we have a high exposure happening. This is from the popular softwares or in the industry. Compared to 21, 22 is really growing up. So with this data, what are we saying? Are we getting better or are we going bad? This conference is happening for 16 years because we are creating awareness. We are doing everything possible. Most of the companies has a CISO. Every vendor is in the industry is available, but still things are not changing. If you look at, we are in a toxic combination of issues. We have huge vulnerabilities. Exploitable codes are extremely high. Our exposures is high. Misconfigurations are high. Then how do we survive? Now there is a new pattern we have heard. In some countries, they are not disclosing zero vulnerabilities. Instead, they are keeping vulnerabilities within themselves and keeping the 0 days ready. So when they need, they are just using it. Earlier, responsible disclosures were happening. Now, a large, a particular country or more has taken a call not to disclose. So internally they report, they know the vulnerabilities, they create the exploit, and they are waiting for the real day to attack. Earlier, when I started my career as a full-time cybersecurity in 2000, antivirus was the only control I need to put. The weekends or monthly once I go with the floppy disk and put on over the machine. Now an average a company has 50 plus security controls in each of these layers. And the layers are increasing. Now we have the cloud above this, then comes the GRC above that. So many more are coming into picture. But these layers are increasing, but the problem there is, we build a layered architecture like a fortress. Now the user moved out and he is working from home. From few handful of antivirus companies, it is a $2.5 or $3 billion industry controlled by 3 major companies and few more smaller ones. Now there are 3,200 security companies hoping to get very high valuation, and they are all very positive that their sales growth will be considerably high moving forward. Anywhere you see the hype cycle is not downtrending, is an indication that what we are doing is not correct. Ideally, every hype cycle, if you look at it, should reach a particular level and it start dropping because the maturity has come. Then it is becoming a commodity level, it moves down. But cybersecurity is just on the other hand, just going up, which means something fundamentally is not right. As per the prediction, the cybercrime is expected to skyrocket in the coming years. Look at the trend in the graph. It is really considerably going up. World Economic Forum gave a prediction that we are waiting for a doomsday. They said in 2 years' time, we may see a doomsday where a significantly high impactful incident could trigger out everything down. We have seen multiple indicators like WannaCry, NotPetya, Log4j, many we saw, which could have reached that level. But now we know supply chain attacks are the biggest problem because most of the organization has a component of that. If it is getting compromised there, everything can go down. There was an incident around 10 years back, an antivirus company in a particular country, in China actually, anybody who pushed the signature update couldn't boot the system back. So what had happened is that Chinese language DLL had a problem where the antivirus detected that as a malware and blocked it, due to which the system boot was completely stopped. So think about a situation, the entire country running Chinese software stopped. One update. That was an accident. They immediately managed to think it. But current situation is that something wrong from a supply chain can bring everything down. Who can bring the network down or a company down? Earlier what we have seen is that a higher management, a conduct of them, or an accounting practice or a fraud can bring the reputation and the company down financially. But what we have seen starting from, not getting the name of that company, that 118-year-old financial company in US, it was a lower junior level administrator who was supposed to patch a system, who know very well that he had to patch, but he missed patching. An Apache server, it brought down the entire company. Equinox was the company. It was a junior most guy. Later we saw multiple incidences, a junior staff not performing an act brought a company down. So suddenly we are getting into a situation where we have to worry about anybody who has a privilege. There is no malintent, it can be accidental, but overnight things can change over. Another interesting statistics, 50% of all attacks are human related, human errors. 49% are misconfiguration. 44 companies don't know where their assets are. I worked in a company where one of our key portfolio was visibility. Most of the time we found 20 to 30% of the asset when we discover company had no clue they existed. And the problem with that is those are unmanaged, non-governed systems. So are we really surprised why attacks are happening? Because misconfigurations are huge. Errors are making everywhere. And for years we are continuing to do what we always done. So can we expect any change in the outcome? We have all attributes and indicators to say things are not working out. Fundamentally, we need to look at change. If you look at the zero trust principle says that you have to assume that you are in a hostile environment. There is nobody trusted internally or externally, which means you don't have a perimeter to define. You assume that you are already compromised. In that mode, how do you operate? I validate, I verify, I authenticate everybody. That is the only way we can currently work. But many companies are still looking at new technologies just to go behind that. There is a concept in the military warfare called survivability. So which means that the resilience is more to make sure the systems are up and running always, that this is focused on the mission focused rather than the system focused. Why did we reach in this situation? Because we have a blurred visibility in our own ecosystem. Most of our environment is not directly owned by us. It is owned by a third party. It could be a SaaS, it could be a service, it could be hosted in a somebody's environment. Contractually, they don't allow us to do anything. We have 50 plus controls, don't talk to each other. They are all isolated individual controls. We expect to get in the people and they've learned 50 technology and it's all updates of that and look at 50 different consoles to operate. They don't look. They trust that system operates. And they use the SIM and just cut a dashboard saying that the activity status report they create. They don't do beyond that. We work on a flat network. Anywhere you get an attack, it propagates internally. We have a huge attack surface. Digital transformation, cloudification. CIOs wanted to be leaders. CISOs resisted. But end of the day, they had the upper hand. Business decided. So we went to digitalizing everything. We moved our legacy applications even to cloud and exposed. We trust our supply chain, our contractors, partners blindly. In my earlier role as an investigator, most of the key incidents I have seen is triggered by a contractor. And they know very well that we will not take it up, because if it goes to the media, if it goes to a legal case, media will come into picture, the damage the company will have will be much higher. Convergence on IT and OT. The problem there is that traditionally IT works with an agent installed inside. In OT, you cannot put an agent. The cameras, the printers, and all of that. These are all attack vectors. So when you have lot of attack vectors inside our network, we cannot traditionally follow the agent-based solution alone. Race behind the new technology. Everybody wants to buy new technologies. And I have heard from a vendor that he does a lot of POC. I asked why. He said everybody wants to put on their resume that I am familiar with this tool. So they just start a POC. And with that experience, they add on their resume and say, I know this technology. It is not a purchase. So everybody is behind new technology, and the existing investment they are not leveraging at all. Lack of sensitivity to cybersecurity. That's why you are seeing the misconfigurations and all of that. And many are busy managing their bosses or their personal brand. There is a quote by Martin Luther King Jr. about a street sweeper. It says that if you are a street sweeper, doesn't matter if Shakespeare writes an article in the road, or a big composer, lyricist write a music over there, your job is to sweep. If you do that responsibly, the heaven and earth will say that there lived a sweeper, he done his job well. The CISO should be that. You are not there to please people. You have an objective to protect an organization. Risk continuously change. You have to adopt with that and enforce the required changes. My last slide. Many a times we hear that I am a small company, I don't have budget, I don't have resources, how do I protect? Large company can do it. I always feel that it is easier to protect a smaller company than a bigger company. The reason, you have a limited exposure. If you follow that all my systems are patched, my misconfiguration has been addressed, and my privileges are being least privilege approach I have taken, you are resilient yourself. The problem is that we are missing the fundamentals over there. With that, thank you very much.